3. Hi there, I'm Danny Henderson. Welcome back to my beautiful channel. Now, this is a world first, everybody. In the screen with myself here, these two great men. You can see Trevor Grassi. He is our archaeological researcher. He's been to Egypt many times, never more so with the great man in the screen below, who is known as William Brown. He is the greatest Gizatologist. He has been going to and from Egypt no less than 75 times over a 23-year period, and has explored the depths of Giza like no one else on Earth, quite frankly. Welcome, Trevor Grassi, and welcome, Sir William Brown. How are you guys?
Hello, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, glad to be back. Thanks for having us.
Of course, Trevor, you and I have done several broadcasts together. We met at the very first Galactic and Spiritual Informers connection. You blew me away with your energy. You gifted me a copper ring that is wrapped in the mathematical equations of Giza, the mathematics of Giza. I actually still have it. I use it every night. I put my water on it every night. And you've been telling me for these years about this great man here, whose work I've become very fascinated with, and this groundbreaking work that no other has done. So without further ado, Trevor, I'm going to make you host so we can share screen here. And then Sir Bill, I am going to invite you to start with your incredible information, please.
Okay. All right, good. So, Ms. Trevor, are you going to start and show the ground penetrating radar tests that we did?
Yeah. Well, if you want to say anything before we get into the slides, I've got a few slides here, and not quite as many as I usually bring, so thankfully. But yeah, actually, and I do have a couple about the tensor rings as well, which that's actually a shared interest of Bill and mine from before we even met. So got a couple slides about that. If you want, we could just start getting into the slides unless you want to say anything before that. But
well, let me start by asking Bill. Bill, where does your interest in Giza come from, and how is it that you've been there 75 times over this 23-year period?
Well, in 1997, I became a walk-in, and I instantly knew everything about Egypt. As a civil engineer, I started drawing maps of the Giza Plateau that you can find anywhere in any book or any source. And I decided to go to Egypt and to confirm everything that I knew. And every time that I go, I confirmed something new every trip. And one thing that is difficult to understand is it's always been in the front tip of my nose, but I kept raising my vibration, my frequency a little bit. And as I continued to raise my frequency, I started to see things that were there that I'd never seen before. And so I have been able to, I work with copper tensor ring technology. I design, build chambers. They're scattered, hundreds of them around the world. And I learned to be able to become what I call a walking meditation 24/7. So that I'm able to maintain that frequency all the time and stay out of fear. And when I did that, I just started seeing things that portals are there, and you just like walk into them.
Let me ask
because your frequency allows you to. Go ahead.
Yes, sorry, Bill, because it's very important really to understand who you be in this planet, in this time of spiritual ascension, and the true history of our planet, because this is disclosure in its fullest right now. So you mentioned that you were a walk-in in 1997. So for those that don't know, what happened to you and what is a walk-in?
Okay, for me, it's when you accept your blueprint contract for why you came, and you give up the vacation. Up until that time, I was an engineer, and so I decided to fulfill my contract, which was to disclose Edgar Cayce's halls of record at Giza Plateau. and we have found them.
That's just so mind-blowing. So for those that don't know Edgar Cayce, he was known as the Sleeping Prophet, a beautiful man from Virginia Beach who used to be able to sit with a sick patient and literally feel into their field and prescribe, using a secretary, prescribe the things that that person had, the ailments. And he's also a great proponent in modern day of castor oil, but he would use heated castor oil packs. And there's so much more to the great man. When did you realize you had such a strong affiliation with him?
Well, it was just when I woke up. I had an awareness, I made a connection to that, and I remember him. He passed before I incarnated into this lifetime, and I knew him for when I came into this lifetime. And when I would go to the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach, when I was an engineer working there in the 70s, I would just walk around the ARE facility, and of course they have lots of crystals and meditation rooms and things like that. And I was just made connections. And I don't hear voices. I have special gift of knowing, and I've had to spend a lot of time challenging until I get to the point where I trust 100%. And when I got to reach that point, I just started understanding the things that I knew were correct. And then I just went about doing confirmation to confirm that I was correct. And when I would go to Egypt, I would be guided exactly where to go, what to look for, what people would show up, what they wanted. And so I started making connections with people that were like same frequency, vibration, mission that I am. And so in 2006, I was interviewed by the National Geographic's film crew, and that became a TV series called Atlantis, Is It Real? And I quote, and everybody quotes me, I call it Atlantis, Egypt. And I'm here to prove that the ancient Egypt, that the Egyptians go back to the time period of Atlantis. And I'm here to prove that. And with the records that I have, we're going to confirm that. And hopefully those records will be discovered in other parts of the world and validate each other.
That's beautiful.
And I'm hoping America will disclose their share.
Yeah. Well, we're at a point now, global disclosure belongs to the people, and we're the ones deciding what we choose to share, which is what we're doing right here. Now, you mentioned to me previously that you've been to Egypt, 75 different times. And in your earlier days, you would just somehow be able to sense what you called the hotspots and the portals, and you would take people on beautiful meditative and meditation tours and trips. Tell us, what do the portals look like in the Giza Plateau, and where are they, if you're able to?
They're everywhere. The frequency, specific, I call them hotspots, are there, but they're time capsules. And so when you go to a specific location, it's about a time period and the connection of a timeline. And that's what the halls of record are. The halls of record are not just physical, they are supposedly be in writing, but they're hologram. They're holographic. Okay. And I'm able to make the connection. And so I would meet people that would have a specific connection at a certain time. Sometimes I knew them from the time, and others. And I met one person there in 2006 who is a psychic from Poland, and she was looking for the tomb of King Khufu. And so I have assisted her in 20 years to find the tomb and disclose its location. So she was just one of the many, and I ended up marrying her 6 months after I met her in Egypt.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I know.
Wow,
So,
wow.
and I've met hundreds of people, lots of times when we go there.
Beautiful.
And Trevor was one of them.
Yeah, Trevor, tell us about your first connection with Bill.
Yeah, well, actually, I was surprised that I hadn't come across Bill's work a lot earlier because it wasn't really until 2020 or 21 when I first started seeing it. And we do agree on a lot of the things like what he just said. There are certain, I think the records do exist. They take many forms. Some of them are written, some are more energetic, or there's very many different forms of them. But what really caught my eye about Bill's work was these actual scans from underneath the ground at Giza. And this is one of the more exciting parts. We have a couple shots of that today to share. So we actually have some of the images of the scans that show chambers underneath the plateau itself, which is really the holy grail of Egyptology, of archaeology. I know the holy grail itself is actually the holy grail of archaeology, but the Giza Plateau specifically has been extremely difficult for any researchers to get access to. And so when I saw him sharing actual ground penetrating radar scans of the plateau showing anomalies, that was when it really got serious. And I started reaching out, we started talking. And so it wasn't until, towards the end of 2022, I was seeing some really fantastic stuff. We were having great conversations, and I could tell there was much more than what I had already heard about this. So I said I'd like to make a film about this, and we should just meet up in Giza because it sounds like some stuff we should talk about in person. And so that led to us meeting up at Giza in January of 2023. And this was at that time, Bill's been working on actually getting official excavation projects sanctioned by the Ministry of Antiquities and Tourism, and trying to actually make real projects happen so we can get down in there, which is even more exciting to me than just seeing these scans. So we knew that there was a potential that we might actually get access, get the permits, and be able to get into some of these tunnels, which, based on Bill's information, we already know exactly where many of them are. And so this was a very exciting prospect. And we knew if we got the permits, we would be allowed to film everything we had access to. So this would be world changing potentially. And I basically told him there was no way I wouldn't be there if there's even a chance of that happening. So we went and met up for like 2 weeks in January of 2023. And then I ended up going back November and December of the same year. And we met up for another like 2 weeks. So we spent about 2 trips, 2 weeks each, about a month there in Egypt, and had some really great conversations, got a whole bunch of interviews filmed and on-site footage filmed. And so this is why we're coming out now. We're about to release the documentary project we've been working on for the last year, which is very exciting. And it has expanded into a series, not just a film. So we have about 3 to 4 episodes already filmed and mostly edited, which we're about to release the first one. And so some of the slides I just pulled off from some of these files today. They're mostly just kind of skimming the surface of some of the material in the first episode, which gets into this whole story about the 2006 GPR scans that were done at the plateau, and a couple other subjects, but into also Hawara, which is one of my favorite mysteries of Egypt as well, where there's a underground labyrinth. So there was also a project there from like 2007 to 2009. So we're going to give a little sneak peek of what's coming up in this first episode, which is basically covering the first years of what Bill was doing from 2006 to about 2009 in some of these slides here. So yeah, it's pretty exciting, especially the fact that we're going to share some of these actual images of the ground penetrating scans.
Yes, and please go ahead.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to do the screen share here. All right. You can see this.
Yes.
This is, so we just actually released the trailer, the first look at the project a few days ago, a week or so ago. And this is the opening quote that I just love so much. In the belly of the Sphinx were cut out galleries leading to the subterranean part of the Great Pyramid. These galleries were so artfully crisscrossed along their course to the pyramid that in setting forth into the passage without a guide throughout this network, one ceasingly and inevitably returned to the starting point. And that's from Iamblichus, 4th century AD. So I love this quote because it really tells that there's actually a enormous labyrinth network that is so confusing, you're automatically going to return to the Sphinx if you try going out into it without a guide. So I think that's a good context setter. Okay. So yeah, this is more context for where we're working. This is the village of Nazlet El Saman, and this is the Great Pyramid. The other pyramids are over this way. And here's the Sphinx right here. I've shown some of this on some of the previous interviews I've done with you, but basically that was in 2021. And by 2022, this is what it ended up looking like. This whole village got demolished. And so this is a highlight of some of the area that we're really interested in, because we think there's a lot of tunnels going inward from here. And we're going to get a little deeper into what these have. This is the actual wall of the plateau itself. So this goes all the way down, it goes all the way around the whole Giza Plateau. And this is part of the 2030 plan for what they want to do. This is the bigger version of that. So you can see they want to destroy all these neighborhoods and build all these hotels and museums and this whole causeway that leads up to the pyramids. So this is kind of, this comes from Cube Consultants, a company that is projecting this for 2030. This isn't necessarily going to happen, but this is what they're hoping for. And so as all this stuff gets demolished, this is kind of the sweet spot in time where we might be able to do some of these projects without risking damage to anything, without having other buildings put there. These are a couple of the images for what they're imagining. So you can see it's major construction. This is a huge area that they're looking at. And this image shows more exactly, like this white area is all what they're showing turning into this whole development. This red area right here is the part that was already demolished in 2021. So you can see the difference. This is how many neighborhoods they want to take out. So it's kind of a, you know, it's unfortunate that all these businesses and homes are going to be displaced here, but at the same time, there's a lot of potential for archaeological discoveries. So that's kind of setting the stage for it. Now this, I can let Bill talk a little bit about this at this point, but these are the 9 locations that were scanned in 2006. And so I have a few slides of this. I don't know if you want to describe some of this part, Bill.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. We're good.
Okay, yeah. So this was with the Dr. Abbas and working with the NRIAG, the National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics. And they did scans at all 9 of these locations. And so a report came out in the Journal of Geophysics about 18 months after that. And we don't know if it really included all the information that they had found or if it was somewhat censored. But Bill's own book came out, the Giza Report 2008, which actually went very deep talking about these scans and what they'd found. This area right here, this is the Sphinx Causeway, they call it, coming from the Sphinx up to the second pyramid and the temple here. So this whole area is extremely important. And yeah, a lot of these scans, there were multiple anomalies all along the causeway. And right around here where number 6 is, this is where the Osiris shaft is, which I'll have a picture of in a second to show. But there's a very important shaft going down to 3 successive levels. And so there were multiple caves or tomb-like anomalies in different of these scans. There was also a very interesting one up here by 1 that seemed to go into the underneath the pyramid itself. And so this is a good image just to see how many different places they actually worked. And this one over here, number 9 as well, gave us a pretty good idea about some of potential tunnels coming in between from the village into the plateau. This is just a good quote. These actually came from Dr. Abbas in the report he put out. The cave-like features could be ascribed to a tunnel section of at least 3 to 5 meter width, and it is like a void in the limestone rock. Sorry, I'm going to resize this a little. And then this other quote was, "We can presume the existence of a momentous diversity of archaeological structures at the pyramids plateau, which remain as yet unexposed. These structures could be a linked net of tunnels and shafts that may well lead to precious tombs." So that's obviously a pretty interesting statement. And it's based on all of those scans where you just saw. This is one of them. Now I have 3 of them here to show. This one is showing several of the spots along the causeway where you see multiple anomalies. And then this one as well, which this one, I don't know if you want to mention about this one, Bill. We were talking about energetic anomalies and things like that. Is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, the very first time I met with Dr. Abbas, and I personally paid him, and I financially sponsored this excavation along the entire length of the Sphinx Causeway from the rump of the Sphinx to the second pyramid mortuary temple. At this particular location, when we first got started, they had hit a very powerful energy anomaly area, and the energy actually shut down all the computer equipment, shut them down for the day. And we had to stop work. They had to go back. They had to work that night to recalibrate all of their equipment and then come back the next day. We had seen the image of what was there at the time, and no one has been able to capture that image again. I was working with some people. I do work with, under disclosure, I can say I do work with some ET people. And we actually had to shut down and shut the equipment off so they could actually do the work in the area. And so this is one anomaly. It contains an energy, and we're waiting to confirm it, but the depth is very deep and the width is very deep. We believe it's a huge tunnel that goes from North Egypt all the way to South Egypt, all the way. And this is the one that crosses the great Giza Plateau. And the energy inside these tunnels are so enormous that your frequency has to be at a level. I had been in locations where people have attempted to enter these anomaly areas where their vibration was not at the level it needed to be. And I've seen the proof of the bodies and the skeletons that still remain that didn't make it. Mm-hmm. So this is one of my favorite anomalies. These are all from my book that I published in 2008. And so I've only published 25 copies of it. It's on record at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. in CD form. And I printed 25 copies and handed them out at a conference in April of 2009 after working 2.5 years in Hawara. And we presented all of this information of the Giza GPR scans and the Hawara GPR scans at that conference. And I gave my book, and I have not published it since. Now doing the second edition to it, which we hope to publish soon with the help of Trevor. Okay.
Bill, what is your book called?
The Giza Report, 2008,
Okay.
Archaeological Research.
Okay.
Right.
Bill, those that don't understand what we're looking for, what we're looking at rather on this graph, because this isn't about the red showing up as a heat level, or maybe it is. Can you explain to us how this depth equipment works, please, and what we're actually looking at here in terms of heat frequencies and other?
Well, it's showing that in this case, energetically, you're seeing some kind of a vibration energy form between two white stone walls, and the width of that is from 15 to 30. I mean, that thing's like 30 meters. Okay. And so the anomalies, the GPR scans show that there's something called a void area, and there's something in that void, but it does not actually pick up the image of what it is. Now, we have been inside some of them where it was a tomb with sarcophagus and statues. So this is just kind of an energetic blueprint to show that there's something in this particular location versus all the other areas around it. So, that's why we call it a hotspot.
And tell us again exactly where this location is that we're looking at on screen.
Do you have the picture, Trevor?
Yeah, I can share this one that we're just looking at was, this was number 4, right?
Right, correct.
This was right here at the end of the causeway, and this is where that energetic anomaly occurred.
Right.
I think
if you go from 4 to 1, you see the blue line. That's just the area that we scanned. Okay, you can see how long it goes all the way up to 1, and we picked it up again at number 1 when we scanned there. And this is a tunnel that goes into the Great Pyramid, under the Great Pyramid. This is where the Japanese have been working in the Khufu solar boat for 10 years. And we have some anomalies that show that. So these are basically tunnels. The blue lines are tunnels. And they extend beyond them, but we just didn't we didn't scan those areas. But I have come back later since 2006 and scanned privately more areas and confirmed everything.
It's incredible.
These tunnels are anywhere from 10 meters. We're talking with some inspectors at the Giza Plateau. We don't mention any names for protection, but we have confirmation down to 60 meters, and we believe some of the tunnels are up to 100 meters underground, and they're huge.
Yeah, potentially they get bigger and bigger the further you go down, but you need much more advanced equipment to see what's 50, 60, 70 meters. That's a much bigger project, I think. And then these other 2 that I showed, I think those are from 5 and 6, possibly these ones that are right along the causeway. This one and these ones.
Right.
So, and yeah, in the film we're going to release here soon, I put all 9 of those locations up, so you can see all 9 of the spots. But they all have different levels of these voids of different densities, and certainly it's very, very much worth investigating what is down there further. But this one was actually that anomaly which shut down all the computers right here.
Right.
And then you said you came back to get this the day after you were able to get
this.
Well,
we actually shut down we control the energy flow. Let's just put it that way. We were able to contain the energy field so that it didn't disturb the electronic equipment.
Yeah, and Yeah, Bill's mentioned also some other locations where there are similar energetic anomalies on the plateau, which we described a little bit in some of the other episodes of the film coming up. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I guess we'll move on, but this is one quote that was absolutely fantastic from Dr. Abbas on the report of these scans. He said the results of the survey support the possibility of the presence of undisclosed relics of high value. And that's a very, very specific thing to say. Very intriguing and exciting, actually. And it seems as if, you know, he's working with potentially more information than what he actually was able to put into his final report,
Yeah,
which Bill disclosed all of it. But
you know, the Egyptians are not a part of disclosure. Okay, so they're limited in what they can say, but they do give enough hints to tell us that we know what they know, but they don't know everything that we know until now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Here's an example. Is one of the photos that I took. This is just one of the many shafts that go straight down in the plateau, and you can see the metal bars across the top of it in the shadow. These are all over the place, and most of them they're like buried, covered in sand towards the bottoms, and you know, we don't know what's at the bottom. A lot of them, you know, we think connect together with these tunnels that are down, you know, towards the level of possibly where the bottom of the Osiris shaft is, like 90 feet down or so. So that's just an example to show these are all over the place, dotting the plateau. And this is Professor Salim Hassan, who in the 1920s and 30s had done very extensive excavations, a lot of it in this very same area where the scans were from 2006. And he was actually, Elena was talking about him in the theaters also, and it caused this whole just fad. Like everyone was obsessed over this secret city they were saying was being discovered underneath the plateau. And there was all these articles, like these two articles, which describe secret subway under the pyramids, or this secret city, as they were calling it, basically being discovered with all these different chambers. Like some of the things that did show up in the 2006 scans, tunnels going underneath the causeway all over the place. And here's one quote actually from one of those articles. "We have discovered a subway used by the ancient Egyptians of 5,000 years ago. It passes beneath the causeway leading to the second pyramid and the Sphinx. It provides a means of passing under the causeway from the Cheops pyramid to the pyramid of Khafre. From the subway, we have unearthed a series of shafts leading down more than 125 feet with roomy courts and side chambers." So that was from one of the articles in the 30s, and around 1935 or 6, this whole thing just ended. It stopped. They just attention was diverted towards other things in Egypt, and everyone stopped talking about it. You know, so some people say there was there was academics looking into it, photographs being taken, and suddenly in the mid-30s it all just went silent. So this is another one of the many examples of that kind of thing happening on the plateau after it seems they had many interesting discoveries. And so this is a just great German illustration to show the Osiris shaft, which was originally discovered by Salim Hassan, or maybe not originally. I think Herodotus talked about it as well, but in the modern age, he was the first to discover it. And so he went down into this first level and a second level. The third level was flooded. This shaft going down to it was flooded, so he couldn't get down to the third level. But we actually are going to share in the film a really interesting story from friends of ours who ended up being the first ones to go down and find the sarcophagus. But the Osiris shaft, here's one other image of it from the side. This is from the Ministry of Antiquities themselves, released this, I think. And it's essentially a kind of ceremonial, used for initiations potentially, where there's this like island in the middle of the water here down the third level with the sarcophagus inside of it, which was very similar to the Osirian at Abydos, the layout of it. And it's kind of a primordial mound. It's emblematic of all this. But anyway, it does go at least 90 feet down approximately to this level. And there are tunnels leading out from this, which are very controversial. And yeah, we have a story about these tunnels that's in the film too. It's we're very interested in where they might lead, if they connect to the Great Pyramid potentially or other places. But that's pretty important. That's like right in the middle of the causeway right here. So, and I'm not sure who made this diagram either, but I brought this one in to actually show over here what maybe, I don't know if you want to describe, Bill, some of the what the Khufu Palace is.
Yes, yeah, all the tunnels are connecting from the Khufu Palace to the Great Pyramid and other parts of the plateau. And so this is the Egyptologists accept and recognize this possibility of the royal palace being buried 12 to 15 meters underground. And in my work, we have actually researched it and been in some of the shafts down into some of the areas, which we'll be disclosing in the future.
So this is a massive complex. If it is actually somewhat like this size here, this is absolutely huge, and all of it's completely buried under the village. There's still houses built over this whole section. So this is one of the things we could be discovering in the future, actually getting access to, which could be, one of the greatest discoveries in the history of Egyptology. And there's also what's called the Khufu Valley Temple, which was proposed to be right here by the waterfront. So this is kind of where the water used to come up to. And this Khufu Causeway, I've got a few more pictures of that later in the slideshow, that this is all, it's basically covered with the village up until this point, approximately. Like all of this is the village that's now destroyed, but has been houses the whole time. This is all still houses, and this part's just being uncovered. So we got some good images of the Khufu Causeway being uncovered for the first time, thousands of years. Just in 2023, the houses were demolished here, and we started to get a look at what this causeway actually looks like. So just like the Khafra Causeway.
We actually have actual live video footage of underground of this causeway. Yeah, which we're showing in the movies.
Yeah, so very exciting. Very exciting reveals about that area that are coming up. All right, now I've got a few slides here about the stable project, which you might want to just tell that story.
Yeah. Okay, up in the upper left-hand corner, you see a little red circle where the line's pointing to. There's a little building complex there. That's very old. It was there during the time of the period of the original Khufu Palace. And it was, I was instructed at the time when I was doing my research through ARE that Edgar Cayce talks about the location of the Pyramid of Records. And I went in 2010 and I bought the property in the village itself. Paid $25,000 just for the property, and I have put over $50,000 investment into the research into the area. And the Egyptians did come in and find ultimately, and you can see they tore down everything, which is part of my plan because buildings are in the way. And so now they're removing all of that debris and everything. And we hope, and I have video footage, which is also in the movie, to show a secret shaft that we dug ourselves and found tombs and tunnels on the ground. That's part of the disclosure.
Yeah. And so when you bought it, it was actually just a horse stable.
It was just a horse stable. Yeah, correct.
So it was clearly a valuable property because it's right next to the Giza Plateau, but not particularly valuable in what it was. It's just the stable, but because they had information about what might be under it, it was very valuable. And
well, Edgar Cayce had actually given the astrological coordinates of where the pyramid would be, and it doesn't mean that it was a physical building, but that it was more energetically, and we found out the energy there was very, very interesting. When we used people to try and excavate in the area, the energy was so difficult for the people that I ended up going through 3 construction crews over a 1-year period, and they would get to a point and they would just leave. They'd run, and because of what happened. And when you get to certain levels underground, the energy frequency changes, and so we finally found a crew that could handle the vibration, and we were able to get into some of the rooms, and I'll let you watch the movie to see some of the things that we discovered.
Yeah, so there's a couple
We're
more
doing that
places.
lots of places. Yeah, this is what it looks like now. But I
Yeah,
actually went in after the Egyptians went in and they destroyed all of this area. They didn't have my permission, and very, very difficult person to work with sometimes. And I actually went in, and I don't know if you have the pictures, but I literally went in and built an entire garden area there. There's nothing but trees and flowers and everything there. And I went in to change the energy of the people of the village, the frustrations and the anger and everything. And I literally went in and took over with Mother Nature and built the garden center and completely changed the energy. And you can walk into it and you can actually feel that good energy versus chaos. Yeah.
yeah.
And I did it personally. I went in, I hired a couple of people, and they planted everything. We have some good pictures of that somewhere. Yeah, I think it's in the movie. You can see in the movie, it looks like in jungles in South America.
Yeah.
But
Oh, the plants are doing really well now. They're growing. And, we have a lot of footage from there as it is now in the film. But this was after, well, it was a stable, and then you built it into a really nice office kind of, and then that got knocked down before the whole rest of the village got knocked down. So rebuilt, then like planted all these trees where those walls had been. I do have a slide coming up of some of the plans for the future, potentially you could describe, but this is another one that shows the area very well. So this is like where the stable is. That's the Sphinx, and it's like 100 meters away, if not a little more maybe, but very close to the Sphinx itself. So that's a good shot. And then this one shows even better. You can see this is actually the stable area, but this was in 2021 before they demolished all this area. Today, all of these buildings are gone. And we could see that again in one of the later shots. I think I go back to the satellite image. You can see it all demolished. But essentially, Bill's the only person that has a private piece of property this close to the Sphinx. Right, this is the plateau wall. And so this is extremely close.
I legally own it, recorded in the courts in Egypt. And while they did knock the building down, they cannot and will not disturb the land, because it's like, Manhattan. It's like it's the property, not the building.
Yeah, right. And then you later found out that this was actually a German bunker back in the day, and that these walls were super thick, that people might have known there was things underneath there before in the past, possibly.
Yeah, a lot of people have tried to research it. I was blocked. It was very difficult, but I finally managed to buy the property. But it's one of the greatest hotspots for the future over the next 2 to 3 years that we'll be disclosing some information, but it has to be through an official archaeological project approved by the Egyptians, and I'm working on that now.
That is astounding. Trevor,
Oh,
for a moment, let's go to full screen and before we come back to more of the slides, please. I have a question for Bill.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, Bill, this is absolutely beyond mind-blowing, and Trevor's been keeping me abreast of your work over the past couple of years, hence us coming on with his photographs and slides. So I'm so excited to actually have you, the Indiana Jones Brown Gizatologist. Now, it is so beautiful to know of your connection to the great late Edgar Cayce, and that you are there. You own property opposite the Sphinx. And what did that great man do, among other things? He left us visions. He left us downloads that he received on what is the Sphinx, the Hall of Records, the Library of Records, what is behind the left ear or the right paw. Many people have spoken of this, but isn't it amazing that you, with your connection to that energy frequency of Edgar Cayce, own that property right there, right opposite the Sphinx? Like, how does that feel?
Well, that's why I bought it. Okay, I mean, everybody thought it was crazy spending $25,000 for a horse stable, but we found 3 tunnels, and one of the tunnels goes directly to and connects to the Sphinx. We know exactly where it is and how to get to it. And in one of the research, the door is a solid gold door that blocks it. Solid gold door. One of the things that we did ground penetrating radar of the area personally, and the equipment was so sophisticated that the information had to be sent to Dubai to some people, and then from Dubai it was sent to Las Vegas in America, who had the high technology to be able to see. And what we were looking at things on third, fourth, and fifth dimension, not just 3D. And I'm aware, and part of my purpose is that stored on the fifth dimension is a very powerful piece of equipment that it's my job to bring it in. But it's protected because it's on 5D, and I'm the only one that has access to it.
Okay.
And
let's take a step back, Bill, to energy frequencies and portals that obviously exist in this very ancient place, and do away with the 3D thinking. Gosh, the phone rings when you don't need it to ring. Sorry. Hopefully that's going to leave. Anyway, I will not be stopped. So we've left. Sorry, can you hear that, guys? Is it interrupting?
No.
Okay, good.
No, I can't hear you.
So there are all of these, some people call them booby traps, Bill. Let's take, for example, when the Tutankhamun's tomb was opened, Carter and men that were digging were extremely sick, extremely ill. You've described time capsules, holographics, and within the Hall of Records, not just being physical, but actually being energetic. What do you say to that? And the fact that you're discussing a fifth dimension apparatus that you feel you have connection to. Tell us more about that, please.
well, during the excavation of this one particular shaft, which we do show pictures of it in the movie, the people were actually bitten by holographic energies. One guy almost died. And so what it was on these spells that are in these tombs are the protection for a particular reason. And if you don't have the protection capability, it'll kill you in 3D. And one of the people was carried away. It took medical people to revive him. I've been in more than one occasion where that has happened, where I'm happy to say that nobody was ultimately harmed, but there was a lot of damage physically. So what we have to understand is accessing these halls of record is a dimensional shift. And part of the disclosure project where we are is making the awareness available to people that have that ability. And those are the people that we're trying to bring forward through communications like this, that will come forward and say, okay, and I've met people like that. I do broadcast, a lot of broadcasts, and people, we meet in Egypt and we're able to go to the higher levels. Inside the Great Pyramid and in the King's Chamber, you know, I can go to 7th, 8th, 9th dimension. Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes it's also like I was just gonna say, it's like a standing wave of energy that's been placed over a specific area, I think. So it's been intentionally placed there, and so if you don't mesh with that frequency that's placed there, you're gonna get, it could be you get headaches, or you get sick, or nausea, and or you can get very sick, like some of the guys in Carter's team. But also, yeah, I think, you know, some of these records themselves are written in a form that can't be accessed unless you have your third eye is actually what's reading it, and you're you have a certain level of consciousness, or else, you know, you can't access it.
You know, this also goes to, you know, so many ancient levels, so many different documents. It also goes to the galactic reasoning for the whole of that area, you know, and the galactic stargates and everything that we've come to understand over these years. And for example, if we look at Tutankhamun, whose tomb was disturbed and then these people got sick, and then you and I, Trevor, have discussed that Tutankhamun, encouraging people to take the names apart, Tut, Ankh being the Egyptian, you know, cross of life or key to life, Amun being an added on, a negative add-on to his name, whose father was Akhenaten, and people talk about the Tun or Tom connecting to the council, to the Nine, sorry, not the Council of Nine, to the Ancient Nine, linking to the Intergalactic Confederation, linking further back to the Cedars, linking further again to the Nine, who exists within the void. And so many of these things, we start mapping and crisscrossing and putting the information together. It just becomes wholly fascinating, does it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Okay.
Yeah.
And the purpose is, and I try and tell everybody, is that the whole purpose is for people to be put into a program where they are forced to raise their level of vibration if they want to know more. I mean, that's why it's taken me 20 years.
Yeah, but
I had to go
intention,
baby
right?
step.
Yeah,
Baby step.
If your intention is to go there, buy land, take over, you know, plunder, you know, the riches, you are so the wrong person. You are so not the alchemist. You are so in the wrong area, and you're going to get your ass handed to you with your intention being negative. Whereas you guys purely work on the love of your planet, the fascination of your planet, those who come before. Some have even reincarnated at this time. Believe of that what you will. To the negatives out there, we don't care. We're bringing everything in to be looked at, to be accessed. Now, Bill, in your opinion, what are the pyramids built for? What was their function? What was their use, in your opinion?
To allow individuals to connect to higher dimensions beyond 3D.
And Trevor?
Yeah, that is the ultimate question. It's pretty loaded. I definitely think there, you know, essentially it's to do with that. I think it has multiple functions in terms of like balancing the energy of the planet. And I do think that all the pyramids across the entire world are part of a single structure. They're part of one project. I think it's all, it's part of a way to balance the energy of the planet, and to, I think it's somewhat supporting this energy grid that is surrounding the planet. It's part of that, which has to do with not only energy that moves along the ley lines connecting this whole grid, but also has a lot to do with human consciousness and supporting a field that can help raise the collective consciousness. And also, I mean, you know, from a lot of the experiments the Russians did on pyramids, they discovered that there are magnificent effects just by using these geometric structures, and the consciousness that goes into building something like that is what the real energy is. That's the power behind it, I think. And there's something mysteriously life-giving about pyramids. They can create fertility in the agriculture. They can, you know, I think if you used to go into the king's chamber back in the day, especially when all the casing stones were still on it, and it was when the Great Pyramid was running at full force, you could probably just lay down in that sarcophagus there and be instantly healed of practically anything. I imagine that's quite possible. And of course, it has these ceremonial uses as well for the initiation. And I think the final initiation of all the pyramids in Egypt, it comes up to the Great Pyramid. And this is where you're trained in remote viewing or astral projection and discovering who you are outside of your body, essentially. So accessing the idea of what it's like to actually be in these higher, you know, just in your energy body, in your astral form, and understanding that principle.
So again, you know, but I feel too that as well as these beautiful things that have happened as the years have gone down from the original concept of this structure at Giza, the pyramids, there are pyramids in every country of the world. There are mounds, ancient mounds, pyramids, there are sphinxes. This is not just exclusive to Egypt or Giza. And the energy generators, I believe they're all linked to create energy, you know, to power up this whole planet. And that's what's been kept from us. The same as I believe that ancient churches, they're all built on ley lines, then with the nose of the planet cross. And you can call it Saxon or Norman invasions that took over the already beautiful temples on the ground where the ancients knew where to pray, where to worship, where to connect. And those things have been covered up. And interesting, the stables that you bought there, Bill, that they've been built over as so many things have. And one thing I found fascinating before we go back to your slides is if you look at Rome in Italy, London in England, and Washington, D.C. in America, you will see the structure, the geometria, the mathematical pattern of how the blueprint of those major cities have been created. And when you were showing us the slide of the cube company that's coming in to demolish, but to lay down their structures, it really put me in mind of that, because the darkness that's tried to prevent the information coming out and have failed are still trying to physically force to shift and change and keep us in the 3D video simulation, whatever you want to call this, matrix environment that we're in. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Well, one of the most beautiful experiences that so many people have experienced at the stable, I take you to a particular spot, and some of the pictures we show where to stand and everything. You can stand on this spot and you will levitate. You will levitate if you're if you have the gift to do it. Other people, it doesn't mean anything. But I actually went in and I have water. I brought water into the stable when I was building it as an office and everything. And I put 2 bathrooms in that was going to be for the people. And so during the destruction, one of the bathtubs was still complete, still sitting there. And we actually had horses in the whole area. The horses would come up and drink the water from the tub because the water was energized because of what's directly below it. It's like energy geyser. And so when I had the first experience standing there, you know, and I'm going like, you know, I didn't believe it. And so I brought in 2 or 3 people afterwards, and I wouldn't tell them the story, wouldn't tell them anything. I'd say, hey, how about go over and stand over there and tell me what you feel? And then everybody says the same story. So these energy geysers are everywhere, coming up out of the ground all over the planet. Okay, and I mean, I love Sedona. I mean, I've been to Sedona many, many times in places like that. And so the whole idea is to find people who need to reconnect. Okay, they need some little experience to kickstart. Okay, and that's what I do. And because of my understanding of how the pyramid works, I can't explain it in words how it works, but I build geometric structures. We're building structures right now here in Europe. You lay down on the table and you're healed, but the healing comes from you, not from the table. And so what I'm doing is making that connection for people. They have to make that connection themselves. Okay. And so that's what I've learned in all the trips that I've gone. I've taken it home, and then I built the pyramid back then, and I'm building them for the same reason now. I'm just not building them out of stuff. Although we have a brand new project getting ready to start here in Europe, and it's going to be structure made out of a crystalline structure made out of alabaster that holds light, fusion, and sound. And because of my connections and going to the pyramids, a little bit of knowledge came through. The memory came back, and finally I've gotten to the level where I can connect at other levels. Trevor is showing me some of the movies that I've given him that we've recorded and everything. And I'm sitting here at my computer at night looking at the movie. And then all of a sudden, I don't astral travel. I just go there. I'm in that dimension and I'm walking in the tunnels, literally. Okay. And to be able to do that and have the gift to do that, that's what it's about. And that's why we built those structures back then. And it's time for people to learn how to do it again. Okay. I met Tutankhamun personally. Okay. And I went to his tomb, and they locked everybody out for an hour and allow me to be with him. And he took me through all the dimensions. Okay. So I know exactly what you're saying, and I have personal connection. And because of what they did to him, I helped release all of that energy that was still caught up and stuck in me. Okay, because of the connection, not that I was Tutankhamun. Okay.
Right. Good to make, because there are lots of people that think, bless them, that they are the reincarnation of this person and this great person, and they're never the little shop boy in the corner that cleaned the floors. You mentioned alabaster, a beautiful material, very well light depending on what you have. I remember years ago I was in Luxor exploring the temples there, and I bought I was forced to buy, because I wasn't as gobby as I am these days. I was cornered by a couple of Egyptian salesmen in the alabaster mine area, and I had to buy this piece of alabaster. But what I chose was an image beautifully hand painted of Queen Nefertiti and Queen Nefertari. And I still have it, although I gave it to my sister regretfully, and I get to enjoy it at her house, but when I go there. But yeah, alabaster, an incredible material to help us elevate. Now, while we're on this subject, just for a moment, right before we go back to the rest of the presentation, Trevor, can you please advise, both of you, at this current time where we're becoming more crystalline, when we're raising vibration, when we're understanding this amazing technology that we are, other than alabaster helping us advance ourselves, what other crystal could people be sourcing for themselves right now to aid in their own evolution?
I would answer it by saying there are so many, and the answer is what you resonate with personally, period. It's different. Everybody's frequency is different, and the level that you are. So it was, I give justice to identify crystal 1, crystal 2, crystal 3. I can tell you 12 of them, et cetera, but it's what resonates with you. So I use like 12 of them, and then I'll find out which one resonates with the person. Okay. So there are many, in my humble opinion.
Okay. Can you share the 12?
I can send you a picture of it, yes. I've combined a special device that's light, color, and sound with crystal, with the use of crystals. I work with copper tensor rings, tensor technology, and that kind of stuff. So I can provide that information, but I don't hold any knowledge in my head. Just whatever is important in the moment comes to me and I reflect on it. But I don't, I have a storage there that I can access, but I don't connect to it, you know, when you ask the question.
Right, right.
Well, I was going to say also that actually, I think that's where we're at in the slideshow. I was about to show a couple of the images of some of the projects you've done. But on the in terms of crystals, I like that answer. I think everyone has different, you know, certain crystals work with certain chakras even, and depending on where you are at in your own evolution, it depends on, I think that's a good answer, like which ones resonate with you, because there are so many, and so many different crystals have different specific energies to them. But it is interesting to note that we've been, you know, down underground in a lot of spaces, and a lot of these tunnels, like the ones even at the Djoser pyramid we went into, which there's 4 to 5 kilometers of tunnels just underneath that pyramid itself. This huge maze going every which direction. And so this was amazing when we got to visit this. But you could see in a lot of places there's these crystals like coming out of the ceiling. A lot of times these caves are built in areas that have this very high quartz content to them. And so almost all the places where I've seen tombs and underground structures, the stone in that area, we can find layers of quartz. And I know quartz is specific, you know, that's the bread and butter of it. Like quartz is, it can actually take whatever energy you put into it. So it's very universal. It could store energy, it could store information, and whatever your intention put into it is what'll stay there. So I think it has a very important role in protecting these areas where the tombs are, where the underground tunnel systems are. And you know, there's very high quartz content within this red granite that we've talked about a lot that comes from Aswan. And I think that's one of the reasons why the red granite is very important to them as well. I think it also helps it's kind of like a sort of antenna for the stone, where it helps connect consciously. You can put this information in or energy in. It's almost like a battery, and it can hold that energy. But so I think that's an important one.
Yeah, that's amazing. Red granite being the great conductor, and red granite showing up in forms of obelisks and literal columns. And then in more recent years in the ancient churches, lots of red granite everywhere. You mentioned briefly the Djoser pyramid, which for those that don't know, it starts with a D for Djoser. Now, didn't you purport one time that there were tunnels discovered from the Djoser pyramid all the way down to Saqqara?
Well, the Djoser pyramid is at Saqqara, but we believe that those tunnels connect to Giza. And not only that, which is, I don't know, 15, 20 miles or so, we believe that the tunnels actually go from Giza to Zawiya El Arian, the Area 51 of Egypt, and from there to Dashur, to Saqqara, Abu Sir,
and Hawara.
And yeah, and then all the way down to Fayum, Hawara, which is, you know, we got some slides of Hawara coming up, and we don't have to go through all these slides, by the way. We can, it's best to talk about it as much as we want, but we think it actually goes all the way down to the Aswan, to the very south of Egypt. It might go right on into Sudan, and these tunnels might go over into Libya. We think there's been farmers who have like found these tunnels underground in very rural areas. We think the tunnel system actually extends the entire length of the Nile, and very likely does go into other countries besides Egypt. That's how big, and connects most all of them. Some of our friends say the Osirian, Luxor, Karnak, that they're all connected underground. You could walk from the north to the south of Egypt underground. So this is part of the story that we want to get more proof of. There's so many just at Giza alone and at Saqqara alone, but we think they're all interconnected.
Yeah, I think so too. And thank you for the correction. The Joseph Pyramid is at Saqqara and goes all the way to Giza and beyond. And there's so much proof across the world of underground tunnels, of lots of technology being used. It's old news to some, new news to others. For example, using the magnetic levitation trains, one side of America to the next, East Coast to West Coast and back and forth quite easily. So none of us should be surprised about any of the tunnel information coming out. It is old news to many, many people. So at this point, let's return to your beautiful information that Bill here is just so prolific in particularly sharing with the world and discovering. And are we going to play the trailer? Is that part of the plan today? Because that would be great if you have it, no pressure.
Yeah, Donnie,
Oh.
can I just say one thing? You asked me a question and I never like to leave unanswered questions. And so I had to ask my guides, what crystal should I tell her? Okay, so I'm going to tell you, it's called corundum, the crystal. It's a stone called corundum. It's a red ruby sapphire. Red ruby sapphire. And I build horse wands with them. And they are perfect for protection against anything. So that's the crystal that I'm guided to tell you. Okay.
Thank you, Corundum.
Yeah.
Is it with a K or a C?
It's a C, C-O-R. Just look for red ruby sapphire. It's red ruby sapphire. Okay. And it's perfect, the perfect protection for you. And I use it for myself because the level that we're at, the energies that we come face to face with, sometimes you need a little physical force. Okay. Okay. All right. We'll go for the movie.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't have the trailer ready to go, but yeah, we could just, I guess we could just reference it, tell people it is already out. It's called The Secret Underworld of Giza extended trailer. But we can keep on with the slideshow if you want. There's more we could talk about crystals for sure, but
yeah.
And yeah, Bill and I have both seen one very interesting small green sphere of I'm not sure exactly what kind of crystal or if it's like a tektite or something, but very interesting. It reminded me a lot of what Elena described in her book about what she saw under the Sphinx, which, speaking of all these crystals being essentially retainers of information, some of the records itself, like she describes, I think, are actually crystals that can be telepathically interfaced with. You can actually, through your consciousness, you can access the information that are stored in these crystals.
Do you have the picture of it?
And I know.
Do you have the picture of it? Or no?
I don't have a picture of that little one. That it's in the film.
In the film.
Actually, there's a quick shot of it in a trailer too. But yeah, it's a very interesting one. And I know I told you as soon as I got back from my last trip, I was mentioning that a friend of mine did say he actually discovered something that sounded exactly like what Elena had discovered underneath the Sphinx. These like green crystal, large, like ball or egg kind of thing. I mean, he literally brought this up because I told him about what Elena described there. And he said this actually went to the Egyptian military and they did analysis of it and they said it came from off planet.
Yeah. Yes.
So I'll just say that much.
Meteorite. Okay.
That's a confirmation of that thing. And I think that little green one we saw might be something similar. Like it may have this information stored in it.
Well, it did, because as soon as I touched it, all the information was transferred straight to me through electrical shock. So yeah, they do carry the right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's beautiful. You can shine a flashlight through behind it. It's translucent and the light comes through it. And just like the alabaster, we saw these alabaster jars that were under the Joseph Pyramid. And you could put a flashlight inside the jars and it would illuminate like it was like translucent marble. It's just beautiful, amazing light work. So I guess that's actually a good transition back to the slideshow. I'll do the screen share again and show you some of the images of Bill's designs, which, speaking of the pyramids, and in the energy here. So there's a stable. All right, here's one of Bill's chair designs. So some of them are chairs, some are actually beds, but you can see the icosahedron.
This one's for
These,
teleportation. This one's for teleportation.
For
It works.
teleportation.
Teleportation. It works. Yeah. Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, this one's really cool. This is Slim Sperling. He's the guy who actually discovered this technology, the tensor rings, which is such a good example of the actual technology that we could resurrect from this earlier period if we can get our heads around it. This is something that's so easy to make, and they are in a sense free energy generators. You don't plug them in. They produce this energy field of their own, which some people call it the same as scalar waves, but yeah, this so Bill actually knew Slim, met him in Egypt, and so and I had known of him before I met Bill because I was looking into him and videos about him when I first started using tensor rings as well. So that was another shared connection we had already. This one's really cool. I love this one. This is the one in Poland.
Yeah, it's in Warsaw. We're getting ready to put. We're going to actually coat it with alabaster stone. This is just a skeleton frame, but it will be lined with alabaster stone on the inside. Yeah, and
very cool.
That's just coming online right now. It's probably going to cost $500,000 to do this project. So it's a technology that I'm working with the Arcturians that they want me to bring in right now. So we'll see. Go ahead.
Well, you can see these parts flap down, right? And then the rings can get pulled over your whole body.
Yeah.
So you end up having one of these rings over each chakra.
Right. Yeah, you can have anywhere from 7 to 13. I work with 13 chakras more for what I call upper and lower Egypt. Yeah, they slide back and forth. And the whole thing is you actually put yourself into a energy field that's on another dimension. And we use it to bring in, we've done it enough times I had to stop doing it. We'll bring in your oversoul in a heartbeat. That's what they're designed for. To bring in the oversoul to wake people up. Okay, and but the problem we were having is once we brought the oversouls in, the people are having a hard time dealing with somebody understanding they didn't really understand who they were, and then when they met them. So it takes a whole program just to be able to work with these people when you start working with these. And like I'm saying, when we were at the Dosu pyramid underground at the 4th level, I think it was, and then Trevor got to go down into the 5th level, and he went down. There were 2 solid alabaster sarcophagus, and I wasn't allowed to go down with him. I had to stay at the 4th level with someone because my guide said they didn't want to influence my future design. So you're going to be seeing it very soon. Okay. We found some people out of Dubai who are extremely wealthy that are going to support the program over the next year to get these things available to people like Donnie and Donnie and Donnie. Okay. Okay. That's a plus for you. You're going to get to see it. Okay.
Cool.
Where are you located? I don't know where you're located.
Currently London.
Where? London?
Currently.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's fine. We're getting ready to set up a facility there. So you'll see us soon. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Well, I like that one. All right. This one, you want to tell this story? This is the coolest
that's actually the building of the stable. When I bought the stable, this was the architectural designs, and that is the Pyramid of Records, and that is my icosahedron structure that you just saw with the table on the inside. That is still planned to be built there. I'm working with some Egyptians right now, to make this facility available. Right now, we can't put it on the property because of we're going to put it somewhere else, but hopefully we're going to get this into Cairo in this summer. Okay.
So that's very exciting because
Yeah.
you know, if
Yeah.
you're still, I think if this is still a potential project, we could be
Yeah.
building the new pyramid of Giza on
Yeah.
Bill's property. So this
Yeah,
thing
in which, yeah,
become
yeah. And when you look at the
amazing.
drawings that he showed you of the future of everything, the future, and it shows the little trees exactly where my stable is. Doesn't show the pyramid yet, but the architects actually shows the trees that there's still something standing at my stable there. Everything else is gone, but the trees are still there. They know that they better not touch them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I don't think we'll get through the whole thing. It doesn't matter.
No,
As many of
that's
these
fine.
as we want to get to. I know it's, I don't know, we're like an hour and a half at this point, or it's okay. Maybe a few more minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is another part after buying the stable right here in 2011. This is where Bill worked doing a whole cleanup of these cave systems and uncovering all these doors down into the underground, which the Egyptians came back afterwards and covered up multiple times. So this is a little section about that. This is in the cave cleanup area. You can see this stone blocking a tunnel. Just
That tunnel actually goes into my stable on the other side of the concrete wall. Yeah.
Right. So the stable's right in here somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Just over the wall.
Mm-hmm. And so this is the entrance. Yeah, this is the entrance to the halls of record. Next to the
This
Sphinx.
is amazing. This is all what they uncovered in 2011. Bill's whole foundation, they were responsible for moving. It was just covered in trash. There was like heaps of building rubble. And if you look up here, I think these two and maybe like a tiny part of this one or this one,
right there.
all you can
right there. You can see it's still covered a little bit. That's the entrance.
Yeah.
That's the entrance to the halls of record. That's why they keep covering it up.
Show us again.
Yeah, so all of these are totally buried.
Trevor, show us again clearly. What is the entrance to the Hall of Records?
Show it to her.
All these, this one, all of these are covered up now. They reburied them after Bill uncovered all this area, and only these couple little ones you can still even see now. Now it's reburied.
You go inside of their shafts, and those shafts go down. Do you have the one with the 3 shafts?
No, we're saving that.
Okay.
This is the first photograph ever to be published of of one of the chambers that's underground here, and where one of these shafts leads down to this chamber. And Bill took a photo. It's a chamber with 3 separate shafts leading out from it. And so this is something I didn't put in the slideshow, but that was
it goes straight to the Sphinx. One of the connectors to the Sphinx, yeah.
And then one of the other tunnels goes over to the stable, right? So
yeah,
or to that area.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this is major, huge, very important. This photo is just amazing because you see how many, and this isn't all. Like if you look over to the other side, there were many more of these openings they uncovered. We've got a video of one of the there's a metal gate and a lock on one of them.
Yeah.
And actually, if you go back here really quick, this whole cliffside right here, there's like 15 doors in this cliffside here that are all gated up or cemented up, filled in with rocks, totally sealed up, and they all got locks on them. Nobody's allowed in these.
Yeah.
And so this is the area, like those doors were all like right here.
Yeah.
But so this whole area had tons of different openings that they came back and covered up after Bill uncovered them.
Wow.
So this is another that's like just a little further north from there. It's a Russian archaeological mission site. This is where the Russians discovered what you were saying, hundreds of tombs in this whole area, in the greater village area and on this side of the wall. You can see the wall here. This is actually on the plateau side.
Right.
So there's enormous labyrinths of tunnels all in this exact area too.
That's in number
Here you
9,
can
yeah.
see number 9. So the cave cleanup area, this is all like the Russian area right here.
Mhm.
And this is where those tombs are, both sides of the wall.
Right.
Okay. This one was just from actually an article where they actually busted a illegal dig in the village. And in the article, this is what they actually said in the article. It's a screenshot from it. They say this actual tunnel goes directly to the Great Pyramid. So,
From the Khufu Palace.
yeah. So
And,
this is coming
and we,
from the
you know,
demolished village
Trevor,
area.
I'm going to just show, I'll go on record. We've been inside it, okay? And
Okay,
we have the movies.
Okay, Bill, you can't leave us hanging. Okay, so you entered the tunnel at the Khufu Palace, and so continue on. What did you see? What does it look like?
No. Just look at the movies. We show the movies.
What do you think?
But at the disclosure point right now, the walls are straight. This is rough cut, but the walls are, I don't know, 5 meters. The tunnel is 5 meters wide, and the walls are flush, straight, flat, smooth surface. Okay. I don't know what other pictures. I have to see what other pictures he has. I've given him so much information. I have to see what he's showing.
Yeah. Well, we have a video of the actual excavation before it got busted by the police, and everyone came in and raided it all. And we have a video we stuck into the final, which is showing what that excavation looked like before it got taken over. But what was crazy is that this article came out and they said these imposters are digging illegally in their homes, and whatever they had to say about the people who did it, they did admit in the article that this tunnel goes straight to the Great Pyramid. So whatever, I mean, why aren't we having, a follow-up to this? Why aren't we seeing, the Antiquities Department actually go ahead and do an official, analysis of this tunnel and find out where it goes? And I think this next slide actually ties into it as well, because this is number 9. So this is right along the
yellow
wall.
circle.
Some of these,
the yellow circle.
one of these,
tunnel.
Yeah. That's this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know we already had the 2006 scans showing all these are potentially tunnels going in from the village to the plateau.
Bill, what were you going to say about the yellow circle there?
Say again.
What were you
That's the tunnel.
No, Bill tried to say something about the yellow circle. What was it, Bill?
That's the tunnel.
Right.
That is the actual tunnel in the picture that you just saw. Okay. And we have people.
So
I have movies of what's in there.
So that raid happened, I think, 2015, right? And
well, that raid's on another, not in this tunnel. That's on another. That's on the Great Pyramid
towards the north side.
Causeway. This is over where you just showed the people walking around on the shaft up top of the Russian. This is the Russian dig. Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And over, you see to the right, you see a little question mark. That's the actual tunnel. The square. That's the actual tunnel. Okay. We didn't know this back in 2006, 2007, when we were analyzing all this. I mean, I've only discovered this over the last 2 to 3 years by actually physically going there.
Yeah.
75
times. And this is speaking of the Great Pyramid. I just have to bring this. I've probably mentioned this in every single one of the talks we've had together, Danny, but the Malongo and Beyonde, the two of them did these satellite scans. So when we talk about pyramids, when we talk about tunnels going towards the Great Pyramid, we have to wonder if they're going to connect into this whole network. And that is something that we will definitely be talking about in the film. More so, I think episode 2 or 3, most likely, we're going to get into a very, very exciting talk about this potential access to those structures. And when we were there, in December, when we were just there, this was the latest picture I got on that front. this is a scaffolding built all out in front of, under the chevrons where they just discovered the north face corridor going straight into the pyramid, which may potentially connect to some of those things. Maybe not either. Maybe if you see here, it looks like that corridor actually heads straight towards the Grand Gallery, but it doesn't show it connecting up into particularly this chamber is what we really want to get into.
Mhm.
But from underground, you see there are potentially connections that can get into this whole thing, which do connect into this big chamber here. So that's very definitely one of the most exciting aspects of the entire Giza mystery here coming forward. And we want to get into all these chambers. Me and Bill are starting a band, and this is going to be our album cover.
Very good.
Not really, but this is us looking pretty cool at the Serapeum at Saqqara, where these huge boxes are just, they're amazing. And I don't know how much longer we should go, a few more minutes, or what do you think, Danny?
Well, just tell us what we're looking at here. Is it, and how far underground is this sarcophagi or box, whatever you want to call it?
Well, this is at the Serapeum, which they have 24 of these. And so there's two main kind of tunnels. It's kind of like a horseshoe or a square with, I forget exactly how long these tunnels are, but all the tunnels are huge, just hewn out of the bedrock itself. And they have all these side chambers back and forth on both sides of the hall. And you have 24 of these boxes, which are like 50, 60 tons each. And they're made of very hard granite, diorite, very hard stones. And a lot of them have inscriptions on them. This is the only one that everyone's like allowed to go and actually stand right next to. You can't go into all the chambers, but some of them, if you give a good tip and get a moment alone, you can get a minute to sit inside. But this one is at the very end, and it's a famous one that everyone takes their picture with. Actually, there's a famous image going around now, a viral kind of meme of a guy inside this one, and he's looking up at the underside of the lid, and it's so well polished you can see his reflection up in the underside of the lid. It's like a mirror. It's unbelievable precision. These are perfectly level, smooth surfaces in every way. So these things cannot be reproduced today. No one can do anything like this. It's the most advanced stonework on the planet. And some of these, at least the doorway to the Serapeum as it is now, it's too small for them to fit in. So, the doorway is probably newer than whenever it was actually built. But it would seem like potentially even these boxes were there before the Serapeum was. They were brought in before the entrance was built, at least. But very mysterious, and a lot of theories about what they are, what they do. But I think they're very similar to like what Bill's beds are, or orgonite, like orgone accumulators, boxes that can actually accumulate this life energy and potentially used ceremonially, or I don't know. There's a lot of theories about it. Some of them are even like kind of warped, as if there was extreme energy being used somehow.
Right. Now, the hieroglyphics, Trevor, the hieroglyphics and symbology there, has that been translated to your knowledge?
I'm sure it has. I'm not sure exactly where. Maybe even Mariette, Auguste Mariette was the first one to discover this. So I think he might have done some of that. Not all of them have hieroglyphs on them, but yeah, they're very
before
interesting.
the
All
next
of
slide,
them.
Trevor, I just want to, because we've been going for over an hour and a half, just want to briefly mention our friend Elena Danan, who was in Egypt for many years, and at one point was the only translator of hieroglyphics on ancient sarcophagi and hieroglyphs elsewhere at the Temple of Karnak. She was there for 8 years, and now, obviously, as we know, is more known for her work bringing galactic information. And you mentioned the book, The Cedars, The Return of the Gods, written by her hand, where she's actually illustrated being underneath the Sphinx, and she drew these harmonic eggs, or these crystalline eggs that she was shown by the Pleiadian man Thor Han Aredian. And that was already out by 2022. And it's just so amazing how these different aspects of information all dovetail in together at this time. It's just truly remarkable, and how we've all found each other.
Yeah. Well, she definitely brought some really exciting new information about the under the Sphinx, that those chambers, which does mesh pretty well with a lot of the earlier excavations from Professor Reisner to Waseda University, the Japanese team, and of course Robert Schock and John West and Thomas Dobecki, who uncovered the left paw chamber. So yeah, all that information is coming together now pretty well. So this is actually an image of what the Djoser tunnels look like what we were talking about before. And also that was the third dynasty is what Djoser is from. So the Great Pyramids at Giza are fourth dynasty. So it's like this step pyramid, they believe, was actually the earliest pyramid in Egypt, the traditional Egyptologists at least. I think, you know, the parts of it at least were far more ancient than that. But even by the traditional dating, like the Djoser pyramid is the earliest pyramid in Egypt, one dynasty before the Great Pyramids. And even back then, they've got 4 kilometers of tunnels underneath.
Right.
And even this illustration, this only shows down to the 4th level, but there are lower levels past that.
Right. And the Djoser pyramid is also a step pyramid as opposed to the pyramids at Giza.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the only one that's really a step pyramid. And then you actually see right next to that, there's, I forget the name of the king, but there's another one that's from the 5th dynasty right next to the Djoser pyramid. And the one from the 5th dynasty, you know, if you go from a step pyramid in the 3rd dynasty to the Great Pyramid in the 4th dynasty, you know, you could imagine what the 5th dynasty pyramids would look like. But it's the exact opposite. It's not better. It's actually crumbled and totally deteriorated. You can barely tell it's a pyramid. And same for the Pyramid of Unas, which I think is also a 5th dynasty. It's totally crumbled apart on top, and some of the interior chambers are still intact, but yeah. So, all right, I'd say we could just go through the Hawara section real quick, and we can call that good, because I don't think we'll get through all of it, but the Hawara part is exciting, a good place to end on. So these are a few slides to show. That's Cairo and about 90 kilometers south, and the Fayum Oasis is down here where Hawara is. And so this is where Bill had met with the Polish team and Lucy. They actually hired Bill to be the engineer for this project. And at Hawara is where the underground labyrinth is said to exist, which Herodotus told us had 3,000 chambers in it, 1,500 above and 1,500 below. And this is a diagram from Athanasius Kircher from the 17th century that shows what he imagined it to look like. And this is based on earlier accounts, descriptions. I don't think he actually went in there himself, but it's a very interesting, beautiful image he made. And this one also of the upper level. So this is said to be absolutely enormous. And like we say, there are different versions of these halls of records. In terms of the copies that were actually written in hieroglyphs or in images and inscribed onto stone walls, I think Hawara is potentially the master copy of the Hall of Records, like the most complete, you know, all of these chambers under here. I think were actually, the purpose of them was basically to get all that surface area on the walls to inscribe all of this knowledge. And so this is like, you know, potentially it's enormous. It's bigger than any of the temples we know of above ground. And from Herodotus descriptions and also Pliny the Elder, Manetho, Strabo, all these other historians, they all describe it being full of these beautiful reliefs underneath and paintings and all this information inscribed on the walls. So this is the Bill's team, the Polish University, University of Warsaw, if I say that right.
No, Cairo University was doing this. I worked there for 2.5 years, and we did three sets of scans And we found the entrance. I don't know. Let me see what you're showing.
Yeah, I do. I have a couple images of the actual scans. These are a couple.
Yeah.
Well, so it was University of Cairo and the Polish University as well,
Yeah.
right? Partner.
Right, correct.
So these are some of the excavation shots. And here you see Lucina is dowsing.
Yeah.
She's looking for the energy points.
Mhm.
So she would be dowsing or using a pendulum and finding where the energy is coming out of the ground, and then they would do the ground penetrating scans where that happened, and they were finding all these things. Here you see 4 different successes of her, seeking out these energy points, and then they dig down and find it. So that's really how you do it, because any of these chambers, they are going to have that energy there. If you're sensitive enough to sense them, that's where you look. And so here she's getting an award from Dr. Shaheen. He's the head of the University of Cairo, if I'm correct.
Right, Department of Archaeology, Cairo, yeah. Yeah, she received an award for all of our work, 2.5 years work there.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess there's a couple, that's kind of just a good image. But yeah, I'll just show there's a couple of the actual scans. That's the name of the report, the Polish report, and the mud brick pyramid. So yeah, here's one of them, just to show generally, you're seeing all these lower density pockets that are chambers, and this one is one of my favorites. It's just so well defined.
Mhm. And this is actually this one here on the right in the red RF7. That's the actual entrance. My wife actually showed them where to dig, and they refused. We're working with the people right now, some people right now, and we might be bringing that project back online.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
This year, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, especially speaking with Louis de Cordier, who ran the Mataha expedition, which was in 2008. And essentially they went in with the NRIAG, the same Dr. Abbas, National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, and did the same thing. Like your team and their team both did these ground penetrating scans and absolutely proved that it was, the labyrinth is there. It does exist. We know where it is. We know how to get into it. And actually, this was the Mataha expedition scans, which are showing, I think this is at 8-meter depth. You're seeing this whole grid-like pattern of these rooms and chambers, which they had thought originally in some of the earlier excavations that the labyrinth was gone and destroyed because they found all these shards of stuff above ground, but they were really on top of it still. Because like Herodotus said, the upper level wasn't even really underground. It was on the ground. So the upper level, I think, is just buried under sand, and then the lower level is actually under bedrock. So I think the whole thing is still there and waiting to be found, and potentially has technology as well as records information down there.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's all to be disclosed at the same time. So it's kind of like we're pulling all the teams in together to work together. I know Louis, I'm supposed to have a phone call with him, anytime now, and so we're gonna disclose everything. They said 2024 is the year.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And not one person owning anything. This is disclosure for humanity. It's our time to understand for ourselves what is this beautiful planet that we live on. All right, what else do you have to show us, Trevor?
Well, I don't know if that's going to get into a whole other subject, but okay, it's just this is above view, so you can see all this whole area. It's like, it looks like egg carton type shape where it's up and down and dips and bumps, and partly because people have been excavating all over different places, but you can see the area that it likely covers, which is huge. And maybe this is slight exaggeration, but maybe not. Maybe it's about that big. We know that there are parts of it that are on the other side of this canal cutting through it. And the main reason that Bill was working there was to help try and protect the pyramid, because it's being damaged by this water level, which is inside these chambers and damaging the mud brick pyramid here, which which Herodotus, by the way, said it actually has these large figures carved upon it, this pyramid, which would seem to say that it was actually a stone pyramid, not a mud brick pyramid. So it's likely that the actual stone pyramid is underneath this mud brick.
Yeah, we proved it
Um,
when I was there. We proved that only one half of the pyramid that you see is covered. The rest of the pyramid is covered by sand, and you only see less than one half of the actual pyramid. And we proved that.
yeah,
When I did the GPR scans, everybody was doing the GPR scans outside the pyramid, and I actually went up on top of the pyramid, and we actually scanned the rooms inside the pyramid. And the Egyptians were not happy with some of the results that I was showing. Okay, it's all right.
yeah,
Truthful, we'll get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
All right, let's go back to full screen so we can talk to the one and only Bill, the Gizatologist, the Indiana Jones Brown of the Giza Plateau. Bill, in our closing moments here, first of all, thank you so much, sir, for your scholarly work, for financing projects, for bringing so much to life. I know there are so many people that work in that area, work in these subjects, but you really, really have done so much to honor. And I love the idea that you bought a horse stable and it's a garden and you're bringing new energy. You know, it's so important that we recognize harmonizing with Mother Nature, respecting the things from the past right now as we uncover, and you as a person not allowing people to own and usurp the information that's been done for millennia. It's us, it's our turn.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell people about your work, and how can they get hold of you, please?
Okay, we are currently going back, hopefully next month, and we're working with the Egyptian government. They have indicated that they're going to allow official excavation projects in the village area starting this year, hopefully in November. And initial discussions with them is to that I would be allowed to be a part of the Egyptian team that would start the very first official excavation in this particular area that we've been working on. And so we are looking at, Trevor is showing the information of where to go to. We're looking, for funding, donations and stuff like that from anybody, $5. I mean, you're not asking for $50,000. We're asking for everybody to get involved. And if everybody, would get involved, a penny compounded daily 30 days is worth $1 million. Okay, so this is where we're going. We're going after the people. We want the people to understand their heritage, why they're here, why we're here, and the things that we do know. The people need to just become aware of who they are. And this is what it's all about. I've really discovered who I am by doing what I've been doing. And I've been protected in many cases because of who I am. And because I found out and discovered who I am, I was no longer in fear mode. So I can be Indiana Jones because, Rambo, there is no death.
Right. Beautiful. Well, we'll put all your details underneath this broadcast. We'll put your website, etc., where people can donate, how they can connect with you, and
Right.
ask the people that have a real passion for disclosure, for the truth of their
Yeah.
planet, to step forward and don't have a thought for self, fame, celebrity, because we're so done with that old paradigm. It doesn't work. It's dead and dying. Just look around you. Look at the governments of the world coming down. Look at the systems crashing down. Look at celebrity Hollywood. Nobody cares anymore. We care about loving humanity. We care about the true history of our earth. And it's really as simple as that. Trevor, my love, final words from you, sir.
Yeah. Well, I agree. It's a lot about this issue is so important because it does stand to show humanity collectively who we are and give us this piece of self-identity on a collective level, which as an individual you can't really find self-knowledge if you don't have this collective level of self-knowledge. So I do think this is extremely important. That's why Bill and I have both given our lives to this. It's something that stands to transform the entire trajectory of the path of humanity in the future. It could unlock technologies and knowledge that could improve the quality of life of every living being on the planet. That's how important this is. And essentially we're jumping into presenting some of the material that he has already collected, that I've already collected, in the hopes that it will get a response from the public. And yeah, funding is awesome, but more so in awareness and getting the story out and seeing how the world's going to react to some of this information, because we do believe there's things that are very important that we already know about that the world should know about. And so that's what we're starting with. And we do have the trailer out. The first episode is going to be coming out on the equinox, which is just a nice time. It's related to the precession of the equinoxes, of course, is how they used to measure this slow motion of human progress through golden ages and dark ages. So anyway, it's a nice time to do it. But we should have 3 or 4 episodes out pretty soon, and then we have more ready to be recorded, and hopefully more trips to Egypt coming up soon. And the idea is if we start telling the story now, then hopefully by the time we continue this series towards its end, we'll actually be showing filmed, video proof of some of these places we actually want to get to. So that's the idea, so just to get this out in the public mind and get people thinking about it.
Tell us the name again.
Anyway, yeah, thank you so much for having us back.
My pleasure. That's what this channel is for.
The series is going to be called, oh, I know, it's perfect. I think a lot of your audience are especially going to really like this. It's called The Secret Underworld of Giza. So that's the name of the series. And yeah, we should have a few episodes out pretty soon and more to come. It'll be a kind of, we'll keep making it as the story keeps unfolding. And we expect it's going to go some really fantastic places. Even everything we've shared today, it's really just scratching the surface of what we're going to be presenting in episode 1. We get into episode 2 and 3, it gets pretty wild. And really excited. I'm honored to be part of this project. Bill's really put a lot into this. And yeah, as you know, I have a lot of respect for Bill, his work. I think it's really important stuff.
Phenomenal.
The world deserves to hear about.
Well, we'll play the trailer. We'll put it underneath the broadcast here so we can go straight and watch the trailer and enjoy it and then connect with you guys. So Trevor Grassi, archaeologist and Egyptologist, researcher. Thank you so much. And Sir William Brown, likes to be known as Bill, the Gizatologist, but William Brown, sir, thank you so much for your time. It's just an honor to meet you. So grateful to you. As I know many people that watch this will be delighted to meet your acquaintance and continue to follow your work and support it. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to you guys watching, wow. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your support. And please connect with Trevor Grassi and the great William Brown for more disclosure on the great pyramids at Giza and the Giza Plateau and so much more. My name is Danny Henderson. It's been my joy to host these 2 great men, and I will see you soon.